I'm going to learn to make bread today. And the first step is to fire up the wood-fired oven. I'll need 1 cup of warm water, a tablespoon of bread yeast, a tablespoon of sugar, 500 grams of flour. 500 grams of flour. Half a cup of vegetable oil. And those are the ingredients for a loaf this size.
So we're using white flour today, but in the future I'm not going to buy any more white flour and we're just going to use whole wheat. I also wonder with the oil, there's a lot of other kinds of oil. We're using vegetable oil. What if we used one of these other ones, you know, like peanut oil, sesame oil, avocado oil? What would happen with the bread? We're going to try that another day.
So a heaping spoonful of sugar.
So in the warm water, the yeasts are already beginning to reproduce and eat the sugars and create carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is what's going to cause the bread to rise and make it soft and fluffy.
Squishing up the balls. So flour goes in the bowl first. My yeast and sugar and water mixture is over here. And now I'm going to put in the oil. And I'm going to put in about 1/3 of a teaspoon of salt. I like my bread really salty, but if I put too much salt in, it will react with the yeast and the dough won't rise correctly. So I'm just going to salt it afterwards. So now I'm going to flour my board so that when I knead the bread on it, it won't stick. So I'm going to be kneading this bread for 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm noticing already that this table is a bad height for me. So rather than going through moving all of my stuff to a different table and having to wash my hands again and everything, I'm just going to widen my legs. Horse stance! So 10 minutes of kneading dough seems like maybe it's not all that much of a commitment, but it's actually a little bit of an upper body workout. So one of the things that I'm going to do is save my body. So instead of standing here doing it like this or just using my hands, I'm using all of my weight to press into the dough. I'm turning from side to side sometimes, other times I'm going back and forth. I'm just moving things around a little bit, and I'm making sure that my stance has me really rooted into the ground and that my core and my legs are engaged. So I'm not standing here bent over, slumping with a funky back doing this. Not so much. So really think when you're baking bread about your body mechanics and how you can make it fun and also not hurt. So notice how I'm using my whole body to do this. So not being used to kneading bread, my delicate wrist is starting to bother me a little bit, so I want to show you an alternative to the technique I was using before, where when I'm pressing into the bread, you notice how my wrists are bent. If you start having a wrist bothering you, what you'll want to do is make sure that when you're pressing into the bread, your wrist is straight, and that should hopefully help. Kind of looking like dough, huh? So I'm greasing the pan with vegetable oil. It would be nice to have a brush for this, but I'm using my fingers. And then after that, I'm going to do a fine dusting of flour, and that is so the bread will not stick to the pan. We close?
Yeah.
So I'm going to shape the dough in approximately the shape of the pan. So I'm going to cover up the bread with this clean towel that looks dirty for about 30 minutes while it rises.
Bread baking can be dangerous, surprisingly. That loaf of dough, if you don't watch it, could become dog food. The dog will eat it. The dough will rise inside the dog, and the dog will be in great pain and just lay around all day. So don't do that. We need to put the dough in a protected spot. In this case, we're going to put it up here. This is hot because this is the oven, so the dogs won't mess with it. The other thing is that this spot's really nice because it's about 70 degrees up here, and the yeast really like to reproduce at 70 degrees. So we got to make those yeast guys happy. We'll put it up here, it'll be protected from the dogs, and the dough will rise in 30 minutes, and we'll look at it and we'll pop it in the oven.
Warning! Bread baking can be very dangerous, especially if you don't clean as you go. Now I know it's one of those things where only really uptight people actually clean as they go in the kitchen. But out here it's really important, because one time a large bag of yeast was left out when we were baking bread, and a dog ate it, and overnight, without anyone knowing, the dog swelled up and died. Actually died. So clean as you go, put stuff away, put it back in a cabinet, don't leave it out where the dogs can get to it.
And we want to note what time it is so we can check the bread and see if it's risen.
So if we wanted to make a whole wheat loaf instead of a white loaf, one of the things that we'd adjust is the amount of oil. And Brian's making faces at me right now and making it really hard for me to get through this. We would change the half cup of oil to 3/4 of a cup of oil because wheat flour is harder, and so we want to be able to soften the loaf, and that's how we'll do it. So now we're inside. We're gonna take 20 to 30 minutes to wait for my bread to bake.
So it is a little bit different to bake bread in a wood-fired oven than when you have a perfect control. With a wood-fired oven, we're shooting for 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 170 degrees Celsius, maximum of 400 degrees. To get that, you kind of have to get a feel for the temperature. You can put more logs in or pull them out. What we do is fire up the oven to get it nice and hot, and then kind of try and keep it stable if we can. We're going to know that it's done because it'll be there 20 to 30 minutes and it'll look a bit golden, and then we can pull it out and wait about 30 minutes, poke it with a fork and make sure we did okay. But it's kind of an intuitive process with a wood-fired oven.
Nice.
So after all that bacon and bread, we got lots of bread to eat now. This is a piece of the whole wheat bread. Fantastic in the morning, a little bit of jam on there, a little bit of Jamaica tea.